Ya, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Damar Pamungkas from class A, with name 83202100004. Enjoy. There is a play by one of my favorite writers, Nobel laureate, Mel Showing Kang. I would like to tell you about the Swamp Dwellers. The Swamp Dwellers are about a blind beggar who attempt to buy a piece of swamp land because he believes that the swamp will provide him with a better livelihood. However, the villagers in that swamp believe that deep in the forest of the swamp lies deity whose job to protect them from all misfortune. There is another swamp that protects us from misfortune and holds the promise of humanity survival. Those are the peatlands of the Congo Basin. The peatlands of the Congo Basin are vast expanse of its shrub and trees that absorb carbon from that atmosphere. The span 145,000 kilometers. The pin formation began 10,000 years ago when men from hunter gathered to farmer. Nature, I guess, figure I better start protecting myself. A couple of years ago, scientists discovered these tropical wetlands, probably the largest carbon sink in the world. They store 30 billion tons of carbon. If they did not exist, we would have probably already stepped beyond the threshold of 1.5 degrees of warming. However, the big lands are under threats. We have, of course, oil exploration been complete. Logging licenses have already been awarded, and many of the communities that live around the peatlands have just this for survival. We have collectively seen in the Amazon forest burning down because economic interest, turning this forest from carbon sink to carbon source. We have witnessed in Indonesia the swamp drain from for palm oil plantation, turning them from carbon sink to carbon source. It will be devastating if the same fate were to befall the peatlands of the Congo Basin. The peatlands are a passion of mine. I believe they must be protected. But we must also, in this fight against climate change, ensure that responsibility and accountability are adequately appointed. The world emits over 54 billion tons of carbon. The peatland, the Congo Basin, absorbs a large majority of that. Africa emits 1.2 billion tons of carbon a year. The communities that live around the peatlands have no access to basic service, education, healthcare, clean drinking of water, and adequate meal for transportation technology. Clearly, they are not twitching. The peatlands are an economic asset which is valued appropriately could provide the stone for the communities to improve their livelihood. Nature has attacked already as a store of value for the wetlands. Kind of weather reserve. Now image if we hear a price for carbon at $50 with 30 billion tons of carbon sequestered in the wetlands, we are talking 1.5 trillion. A wetlands development fund could help us today to address whatever too stubborn and simply persistent development challenges that the continent face today. This is not just about carbonization, this is also about development with dignity. It is about equity, it is about justice, and it is about transparency. Indeed, Africa has not contributed enormously to collect the climate crisis, but we have visible contribute enormously to keeping with the planet life. We can therefore not expect, but as a blind bigger, we continue to plead for assistance to achieve a better livelihood. And we currently cannot be like well showing because swamp dwellers who wait vainly while the world overlook and underestimate Africa's contribution to climate change. Science has recognized Africa's contribution. I ask you to join me in recognize Africa's contribution and collectively. We must ask the markets to recognize and adequately reward Africa's contribution by putting a price on carbon. Yeah, thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.